A robot that braids hair in seconds is almost here, my people.
Imagine if every time you got your hair cut, it took 6 hours, cost $200 to $300, and gave your hairstylist arthritis at age 29.
Two black inventors just built a robot that does what engineers said was impossible for decades. And Harvard just gave them $75,000 to prove the billion-dollar beauty industry wrong. This is the story of Yinka Ogunbiyi and David Afolabi, two brilliant minds of African descent who spent 18 months building 450 versions of a machine that braids hair 5 times faster than human hands, and why what they created is about to change everything for 20 million Americans. Picture this. You walk into a salon on a Saturday morning, you sit down excited for your new braids. And 6 hours later, you're still sitting there, your back is screaming, your neck is stiff, you've watched 3 movies on your phone, and you're $250 poorer. That's the reality for millions of black women every 8 weeks. And it's been this way for 5,000 years. Yinka Ogunbiyi lived this reality her entire life. She's a biomechanical engineer from a family of Nigerian engineers. She's worn braids since she was a kid. And one day she decided to braid her own hair for the first time, which sounds simple enough until you realize it took her 4 entire days.
And when I braided my own hair for the first time, it took me 4 days.
4 days of sitting there with cramping fingers, an aching back, tangled hair, frustration building with every failed attempt. And somewhere around day 3, while most people would have just given up and called a stylist, Ogunbiyi had a different thought. What if this doesn't have to be this hard? See, most people look at a 6-hour braiding session and think that's just how it is, that's the price you pay for the hairstyle you want. That's tradition, that's culture, that's just life. But engineers don't think like that. Engineers see a broken process and ask, why hasn't anyone fixed this yet? And here's the wild part. Braiding was invented 5,000 years ago in Africa. It's an ancient art form with deep cultural meaning passed down through generations. But in all those thousands of years, the actual process never changed. The time commitment never decreased. The physical pain never got addressed. And stylists kept destroying their hands doing the same repetitive motions over and over until their careers ended early. 20 million Americans wear braids as their go-to hairstyle, doing this exhausting process every 8 weeks.
Hair braiding is now the most popular hairstyle for 20 million Americans who experience this miserable process every 8 weeks.
And the global hair braiding market is worth over $600 million. Yet, somehow in an age where we have robots building cars and AI writing essays, nobody had figured out how to make braiding faster or easier. That's because hair is ridiculously difficult to work with. It's thin, flexible, moves unpredictably, comes in different textures and thicknesses, and you're not just manipulating it on a table, you're working on a human head with curves and movement while someone needs to stay comfortable the whole time. Ogunbiyi explained it perfectly. Creating a braid on a human's head with hair is one of the hardest things to work with, and designing a device that works has been really tough. But here's where the story gets interesting. Instead of accepting that it was too hard, Ogunbiyi teamed up with David Afolabi at Harvard Business School, and these two young black innovators decided they were going to crack a problem that had stumped engineers for decades. For 18 months straight, they lived in the lab. While other Harvard students networked at fancy parties or worked on consulting projects, Ogunbiyi and Afolabi were building prototypes, testing on real human hair, watching their machines fail, learning from each failure, and building again. They built 450 different versions of this machine. Think about that number for a second. 450 attempts, 450 times they thought they had it figured out only to discover a new problem. 450 times they had to go back to the drawing board and start over. Most people would have quit after 10 failed attempts, maybe 20 if they're really determined. But Ogunbiyi and Afolabi kept going because they understood what was at stake. They knew that if they could make this work, they wouldn't just be building a cool gadget. They'd be changing the lives of millions of black women and the stylists who serve them. And then something amazing happened. The machine actually worked, not just in perfect lab conditions, not just on a test dummy, but on real human hair, including Ogunbiyi's own head, and it worked beautifully. The Halo Braid robot looks like a regular salon hairdryer, the cream and gold kind you'd see anywhere. But inside that familiar shell is some seriously advanced machine learning technology. The robot uses artificial intelligence to understand different hair textures, calculate the perfect tension, maintain consistent patterns, and work at speeds that would be impossible for human hands while matching professional quality every single time. Here's how it works in real life. A stylist starts your braids the traditional way, bringing their artistry and expertise, getting each braid started exactly how you want it. Then you sit under the halo braid machine and the robot takes over, finishing those braids in a fraction of the time. What used to take 6 hours now takes minutes. What used to cost up to $300 becomes way more affordable, and stylists who used to wreck their hands doing repetitive motions for hours can now serve 3 times as many clients without the chronic pain that ends careers. The device has already completed thousands of real braids on real people, and the machine learning gets smarter with every single one. This isn't some fancy prototype that kind of works sometimes. This is a real product that's been tested in the real world and actually delivers. When Ogunbiyi and Afolabi pitched Halo Braid at Harvard's 2025 President's Innovation Challenge, they weren't just talking about an idea. They showed up with a fully functional machine that solves a 5,000-year-old problem. And the judges at Harvard saw exactly what they were seeing: real innovation that combines engineering brilliance with cultural understanding. Halo Braid won the $75,000 grand prize, beating out hundreds of other ventures from across all 13 Harvard schools. But here's the crazy part. This was Ogunbiyi's second time winning this competition. Back in 2023, she won an Ingenuity Award for this same concept when it was just getting started, and she took that recognition and turned it into something that actually works. That prize money isn't just sitting in a bank account. They're using it to open a pilot salon in Boston where they'll test different braiding styles, work directly with stylists and clients, refine the technology even more, and then scale up for manufacturing later this year. They've already opened a waitlist at halobraid.com, and the response has been overwhelming. Stylists are lining up because they understand what this means for their business, their income, their hands, their future. And Ogunbiyi said finding interested salons hasn't been a problem because this is so meaningful to them. The idea of braiding in half the time, let alone minutes, is groundbreaking. Now let's talk about why it matters that this invention was created by Black people of African descent. Because that's not just a demographic detail, that's the entire point of this story. For decades, the beauty industry has poured billions into research for products that work on straight hair, wavy hair, anything that fits the European standard. But when it comes to Black hair with its tight curls, unique textures, and protective styles that are part of our culture, the innovation has been basically non-existent. Black women have been told for years to just deal with it, to accept that hair care is expensive and time-consuming, to be grateful someone will even do our hair, to not ask for too much. But Ogunbiyi and Afolabi looked at an industry that hadn't innovated in 5,000 years and said, no, we can do better, our community deserves better. This is what happens when Black engineers get the education, resources, and platform to solve problems that matter to Black people. We don't just participate, we lead, we transform, we create solutions nobody else even thought to look for. Ogunbiyi comes from a family of Nigerian engineers, and that cultural connection, that understanding of where braiding comes from, that respect for the 5,000-year-old African tradition is baked into every decision they made. This isn't some Silicon Valley outsider trying to disrupt an industry they don't understand. This is a Black woman who has lived this experience her entire life, deciding to use her Harvard engineering degree to solve a problem that affects her community directly. And Afolabi brought his Harvard MBA expertise to turn this engineering marvel into a real scalable business that can actually reach the millions who need it. Together they represent Black excellence in STEM, African heritage meeting American innovation, cultural authenticity combined with cutting-edge technology. Think about what this means for stylists. Instead of taking on 4 clients a week and destroying their hands, they can now serve 12 clients, triple their income, build sustainable businesses, hire employees, expand their operations, all without the chronic pain that usually ends their careers early. Think about what this means for clients. Instead of blocking out your entire Saturday and paying $300, you get in and out fast, pay less, get the same professional quality, making protective styling accessible to way more people way more often. And think about what this means for the culture. Braiding isn't just a hairstyle, it's art, it's heritage, it's connection to our African roots, it's how mothers bond with daughters, it's how we express ourselves and protect our hair and celebrate our beauty. And now that cultural practice can continue without all the burden that's been attached to it for so long. The response from the Black community has been incredible because we get it. We understand what this represents beyond just convenience or cost. This is about respect. Respect for our time, our money, the stylists who dedicate their lives to this craft, and the 5,000-year-old African tradition that deserves the same technological advancement every other industry has received. and it's about representation. When young black kids see Yinka Ogunbiyi and David Afolabi winning at Harvard, getting featured in major publications, building a real company that solves real problems, it expands what they think is possible for themselves. You can't be what you can't see. And now black kids can see themselves as robotics engineers, as inventors, as founders who change entire industries. Black entrepreneurs receive less than 2% of venture capital funding in America, despite being 13% of the population. They work twice as hard to get half as far. They prove themselves over and over. They overcome biases that assume they're not as capable or serious or fundable as their white counterparts. But Ogunbiyi and Afolabi didn't let any of that stop them. They used every resource at Harvard, competed in pitch competitions, won awards, built prototypes, tested relentlessly, refined constantly, and proved that when black innovators get even a fraction of the support they deserve, we accomplish incredible things. The pilot salon opening in Boston means this is really happening right now. This isn't some far-off concept. This is technology that will be in real salons serving real clients in the next few months. And the manufacturing rollout later this year means by the end of 2025, Halo braid machines could be operating in salons across the country, changing the experience for millions. This is proof that robotics and machine learning can handle tasks people said were too complex, too delicate, too human to automate. If you can teach a robot to braid hair with all its complexity and variability, what else becomes possible? What other physically demanding tasks in beauty could be transformed? What other cultural practices could be honored and elevated through technology? Ogunbiyi and Afolabi aren't just building a product, they're opening a door. They're showing what happens when black innovators combine cultural understanding with technical expertise, when African heritage meets American innovation, when the problems of our community become the focus of our engineering efforts. The waitlist keeps growing, stylists keep expressing interest, the industry keeps paying attention because everyone knows what's coming. Halo braid isn't just a cool invention, it's the beginning of a transformation. It's the first crack in a 5,000-year-old status quo. It's proof that the future of beauty technology can be inclusive, culturally relevant, and designed by and for the communities it serves. This is black innovation at its absolute finest. Identifying a real problem, applying world-class engineering to solve it, building something that actually works, bringing it to market in a way that empowers rather than replaces human expertise, all while honoring the cultural significance of the practice. Yinka Ogunbiyi and David Afolabi aren't just inventors, they're pioneers proving that when we invest in black excellence, when we support black entrepreneurs, when we believe in black innovation, we get solutions that change lives and transform industries. The next time someone tells you certain problems can't be solved, that certain tasks are too complex, that certain industries are just the way they are and always will be, remember Halo braid. Remember that two young black innovators of African descent looked at 5,000 years of unchanged tradition and said, "We can make this better." And then they built 450 prototypes until they actually did it.